Alright, well, we have a lot of Xiaobu's. Momo's playing Xiaobu. Incredible. Alright. Well, that is
Kind of,
already
I mean, it was the best performing character of the previous event.
certainly the case. Starting here, watching Butcher Neuro, who has the pay-to-win tiger skin. Big fan of that too.
Yeah, this is fake Snowball that we were just viewing, yes?
This one here is Fake Snowball. This is
Okay.
Momo. And so Momo and Fake Snowball are playing Xiaobu. Kai Tuan's playing Wu Jingzhe. I Don't Eat Meat is playing Li Jianxian. Who's this person? This is Huang Jian. Huang Jian is playing Tiger.
Xian is on the hamster.
Indeed, and a hamster. So gone to a different option for Heptastar players. How's the volume, everyone? I feel like my volume's a little loud.
Certainly wondered if we were going to be seeing any hamster play today, because I read the patch notes with the buff for her on the last one, and I went crazy. I think Lantern Spirit Awakening is surely just the single best fate in the game now.
It is a lot better. You get a lot of extra exchanges out of it, which is good.
Yeah, it's like the old Lantern Spirit with a way of adaptation stapled on top of it.
Alright, so we can see some omens. Let's do some omen checks. CJ has Fate of Side Job. That is fascinating. Don't Eat Meat.
Always worth remembering that Fate of Side Jobs can just be +10 Destiny, and for someone who intends to take their character fates.
That's true.
And that, yeah.
A bunch of Musician Side Job cards as well is pretty good for Xiaobu. We'll go through the rest of the list after this combat, I suppose.
Yeah, certainly if a Xiaobu chose to take it at tier 3, you would have the extra Heartbrokens in the pool. And none of the 1 and 2 musician cards that they tend not to favor. Like,
that's true. That's true. It definitely makes some amount of sense for Xiaobu.
You don't need Unbound Chi so much when you have twice as many Cordon Tunes in your card pool.
And here we have a little answer. So, Elixir... I'm playing Elixir on Hamster. Taking... wow, Spiritual Divination. So Zhen has access to the Disgusting Legendary from seasons past.
Oh, goodness.
My Fate, My Choice, Jiang Ximing. My Fate, My Choice, Tiger. Unrestrained. And Omen of Soul. One of my favorites. The guaranteed Soul Cleavings and Soul Seasons. Very, very good. Check out the scoreboard. So Musician, Elixir, Musician. So all the well, Momo is playing Painter. That is not what I was expecting.
Painter Xiaobu is not something I've really ever seen before.
I can't really think of having seen it at all, to be honest. Unless you're really, really invested in just playing like Shao Blue. But then it's a locked Soul Cleaving Soul Seizing, right? So yeah, a bit of a strange one. Not a common pick, I'd say.
Yeah, I would have thought that Finishing Touch made an endgame D-board buff just too slow to contend.
Yeah, I don't see what it does to you other than it helps you find pieces.
Maybe it's actually a read on the lobby contents. If you have enough Xiaobu and you expect all of them to be playing debuff heavy boards, in the mirror, possibly just upgrading your Soul Seizings and Soul Cleavings is you have a little more time with her tier 5 in that debuff mirror.
That is true.
And you just make the payoffs be upgraded.
That's true. And with the guaranteed access to 2 Soul Cleavings already, it does put you in a pretty good position to just be able to cleaving spam. This is Formation Master to go with the Unrestrained. Pretty common. Co-host is TitaniaPie. You'll probably put your details in the stream between games.
Hello, it's me.
Another Xian content creator. And now mod of my channel.
Hard to say. which is the greater accolade. Okay, Formation Master on the Blacksmith is also a highly unusual choice.
So Lu Jianxin has picked Fate of Unrestrained Swords, one of the Unrestrained Fates. So I think we're just gonna see the classic Unrestrained.
Got it. So we're just going to be using a Rule Sky as if it were Yan Shui's tier 5 card.
Exactly.
And then we're going to loop back to it with Meru as often as we can.
Yes. Slightly turn this one down. Okay, so as we settle into the mid game, one thing that's going to be a little scary for Momo is obviously as a painter, you do not have access to Kindness Tune, which might be a little bit scary. Interesting to see a Luck Shocked here from Fake Snowball. Given your musician, also version number 2, it does seem like a little bit of an unusual choice. This is also... Okay, a Comprehension Breakthrough. I thought for a moment it was Cultivation Master, and I was about to get very, very confused.
Lonely Nightwolf is a hell of a card on Don Juan characters.
It is, I mean, it's fitting with the theme of the sect of just kind of cheating. You just get to kind of cheat. Your card just operates much, much more easily than all your opponent's cards.
I mean, if you give it a little while longer and it practically starts the fight activated, it really does feel like cheating.
Indeed, yeah. It takes another thrashing here. Looks like we're seeing the classic Jiang Qiming board, the mid-game bully. I always feel like that's a relatively good choice in these sorts of lobbies. Also, I love the no one is respecting 8-card boards at the moment. We're all just breaking through as quickly as we can.
I feel like we can afford to respect an 8-card board as a character that's liable to, like for instance, the Blacksmith is just liable to go second regardless.
I guess that's true, but Xian and Kuai-Chen, not so invested in it.
This is the sort of lobby where formerly a hamster player would have really had a decent shot to skip Lantern Spirit Awakening. That much cultivation just isn't really needed to outspeed this cast. But probably an unconscionable choice when it has to draw that.
Also, another interesting card on this board, All or Nothing. This is a very, very resource-intensive card. Also, the third treasure in about 4 rounds, which is impressive. We're working our way through that number very quickly.
Yeah, I look like a fool for setting the bag line at 2.
We'll have to raise our standards for the next one.
I think that the average number you would see in an online lobby is maybe like 1.7 or something. But it may well be the case that the average number of treasure cards drawn is higher, and if you have better players, they're just better at fitting them onto their board. So this can be a challenge to adapt to them.
I guess
they're
so.
usually worth it.
I cannot say I often put All or Nothing on my board when I draw it. What did we say? How many treasures? 10? 12?
Oh my goodness.
We
have the rat.
We have the rat. We have the rat.
Dude, the rat memes chat.
The team rat is here in spirit, if not in player. Not as good on
the rat haver? Is it Momo?
No, it is CJ.
Okay.
Rat a little bit less good on Duanshuan. Not like enormously, but given you're generally breaking through with cultivation physique anyway, the cultivation side of it is a little bit less relevant. You still draw an extra card though, and with 2 other Shavels in the lobby, the extra speed definitely can matter.
If I had a rat, I would give real thought to maybe not having to force myself to break through its physique.
Well, CJ is in a position where they do have a little bit of a physique deficit, so it might be a little bit hard for them to hit the number that they need. Remember here just has a kind of classic Xiao Blue board. Unfortunately fighting a Tiger, which is a little bit of a rough fight for them.
It is, that board, sort of has X amount of damage contained in the package, and if that doesn't get there, it can be tricky to extend it for that much more. So
Yeah.
Tiger's HP total is a little bit annoying.
For sure. Actually, both of these travelers having spent a fair bit of their resources here to assemble these boards. I guess the low destiny is pretty spooky. You don't necessarily want to hold out till late game. Actually, Momo is still on tier 3 here at round 8, so they are fully committing to this board, which is interesting with these soul cleavings in the wings.
Well, it's not like they have the option to break through just yet. So really the only commitment that we're seeing is them expending all the rolls before they advance. Okay, this round they could have broken and chose not to.
Still building the physique as well. Xian has found a spiritual divination.
And the Forma side.
Bad news for everybody else in the lobby.
All or Nothing certainly looks like a great card in the mid game with the spiritual divination.
If you can support it, it certainly does. Alright, here we have
The only real drawback on the card is how resource intensive it is.
You make a good point. Spiritual divination, in addition to everything else it does, also solves that problem for you.
Sort of a stopgap measure until you have the 5 thunders on a star point, and whatever that Star Trail divination, that card.
Yeah, and it looks like we're digging to find it here.
Real combo assembled.
It looks like we're digging for our Star Trail divination as well, spinning a few rolls here. So it is this Pain to Jiang Ximing, just doing the usual Pain to Jiang Ximing stuff. We've seen this board. You've seen this board once, you've seen it a million times.
Yep, and his Destiny total certainly seems to say that it's getting the usual results.
That's true. I wondered if this board has fallen off a little bit with how competitive the mid games are, but honestly it still just seems just fine.
It felt so solid to me across, at least through the end of tier 3, that I think the mid games becoming more competitive has actually benefited it, just because it still wins in the competitive mid games and emerges into a scenario where the rest of the lobby has fewer rolls to find something that can, curve out above it.
Curve out above it like Spiritual Divination plus Star Trail Divination, as an example.
Yeah.
Momo seeing, I think, a pretty common problem with this setup, which is that if you also want to build your physique, you need to play multiple cards to do so if you're behind, and then this board is really not that impressive if you're spending multiple turns playing like Exercise Bones and burying the load.
Yeah, I suppose that the real combo happens across 3 hits, right? A Tiger Pouncing and 2 from Double Trouble, which means that if you're using Exercise Bones in order to build physique while you do it, you're only going to get a maximum of 4 physique unless you extend the board and slow it down.
Yeah,
you will slowly be falling behind.
Yeah, also Double Trouble's a pretty core upgrade. It's hard to play the Tiger Pouncing with only level 1 Double Trouble. You need to do this bearing the load stuff, which, it's not fatal, but it's a little bit rough to have to spend an extra turn sort of charging up, as it were. Strategy after your own heart here. The quote-unquote mono wood Wu Jingzhe mid-game.
Oh, I'm all about World Smash with this fellow. I made my run to the #1 spot with this character in the past, and I gotta say, I probably played World Smash in 2/3 plus of those games.
I would say that is relatively consistent with my experience playing against the character. Except instead of 2/3, it's like 2/2s.
Well, I mean, the other option, when that's your plan A, it means the other options are fallback.
That's
right?
true.
You're not in the world you wanted to be. So it certainly makes sense to come down to the end of the lobby and only have the people who are on their plan A remaining.
Right. Could I ask if there's teams in this lobby? No, this is everyone out for themselves at the moment. Excuse me.
They're actually going to be forming the teams based on the results of these 4 lobbies we'll be watching today.
Exactly. Sound is still a little bit loud for my liking. Alright. As we enter the late game here, we have Mono Wood, Spiritual Divination, Unrestrained Ones, Transitional Jiangxi Ming board. I'm very...
My word, this is a psychopath breakthrough.
Keep kicking.
I wonder if he's having regrets now that he sees how empty it looks.
You can't stop now.
You certainly can. Okay, at least he found a card draw fate in order to get him through. That would have been very awkward had he not.
It looks like we're going for Exodia here, based on the cards we've kept.
Holding.
Yeah. Star Child Divination and Exodia card now. I don't think this board beats Momo. Actually, you know, Extremely Suspicious might do a lot of work. If Momo is swaps to like a heart. Well, we know Momo doesn't have Heartbroken Tune, so I doubt that they're going to be able to super well leverage these Extremely Suspicious. But we'll see. I says everyone is playing Heteroshish Exodia these days. Well, there you go. Exodia has changed. Currently, this Star Child Divination doesn't do anything, but it'll get there. Momo, very happy to pick up a win there.
On 25 Destiny, certainly. We do have 4 different cheat death characters in this lobby. I'm not sure how many of them actually selected it.
I feel like Xiao
probably a fair chunk.
I feel like Xiao pretty much always does. 1, 2, 3. Wu Xingzhe, nah. We're out for blood. We're committed to Mono Wood too.
That's because Wu Xingzhe has hopes and dreams of actually competing to go before some characters. Xiaobu not quite as much.
How do you feel about Storchi over his tier 5?
I think fantastic. If you're in the upper half of the lobby Destiny-wise, it really adds. I mean, think of it as starting with 1 attack up, but it's an additional attack up per instance of Fragrant that you play. You might conceivably choose to play 2 of them.
I am very surprised by this.
If you're really struggling to get a board at all, it can actually fix your board more than drawing 3 wood cards, hypothetically.
Interesting.
Just with those 2 Fragrants with the Spiritage Elixir that he's had forever is now instantly a very large amount of attack up.
Yeah. No, I see it. I also see this, though. How do you feel about all that when you're staring down Spiritual Divination?
I think that everyone else has already consigned themselves to 2nd through 8th places.
This is why these people are in the top 32, right?
They definitely took a gambit to stake a bunch of their power in access to a card that they weren't guaranteed to hit, and they hit it extremely rapidly, along with all the pieces that go with it.
I think the board
Really,
is...
they are still waiting for a 5 Thunders to really have the quickest kill.
Yeah, the board is still a little bit short on pieces. That said, I remember when they buffed Star Trail Divination, and the only thought I had was, I'm so glad we don't have Spiritual Divination anymore, or this would be a nightmare. So I'm glad we're back.
Oh, if you mained any character that wasn't Heptastar during the Battle of Fate season, you're certainly glad that we don't have Spiritual Divination before. If you had to play against that card on the regular, you do not have happy memories of it.
Yeah. Alright, I think, yes. So, Fake Snowball's Cheat Death got procced there, I believe. We are out of Undying Body. So we have one Xiaobu legitimately facing Annihilation here. What was the Star Trail Divination buff? It heals you now. It used to not heal you. Every 1 chi and 1 HP for every hexagram exhausted. So it is now...
And 1 star power.
And 1 star power. It's now a Combined Rivers on top of everything else it was doing with Spiritual Divination. Alright, well, we have something approximating Exodia here. Up against...
Getting close. It has the double heaven hexagram, which is the most challenging part to locate.
Yeah, definitely. We are looking a little bit thin on Destiny, though. This matchup, at the moment, looks pretty good. These Unrestrained Swords aren't really...
Until they can find a 2 as the cash out for their Sword and 10 combo. Yeah, they're hurting a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see how this works. I think Tiger generally clears this, but the timing might be a little bit awkward.
I do like the choice to actually cut the Unrestrained to 0 for this matchup in particular. Sort of normally an unconscionable choice with Unrestrained. But we saw he's holding the 0 in his hand. And I agree that if you can't just kill them with this combo, you have lost this matchup anyway.
Well, it looks like that might be the case here, which means Jiang Qiming gets to live another day. We are spending this Chu. Bounce Fantasy. So Momo defeats Tiger. This is last one going. Alright, so no eliminations as yet. Xiaobu is now really turning around their games. This is the part of the game where Xiaobu becomes the nightmare character that we all know she is. Alright, I think that's, yeah, pretty well in the bag. Oh, I was wrong, actually. I did not see that Chetan lost. Okay, so we are down 1 Xiaobu. I respect the board, but not quite there. Momo... We've seen this sort of transition a lot as well. The move from Xiaoblue to an endgame board that's basically the same thing, but packing soul cleaving as well. And we know Momo has access to at least one more of them from the Rhyme, so that represents a nice little bit of extension for your damage with this board. It caps out much lower than something like this, but it generally has a pretty good matchup into internal injury-based Xiaobu boards.
Sure, it does cap out much lower. I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. So the thing about the board is that all of the upgrades don't improve the board linearly. It sort of improves faster than linearly through upgrade count because you're multiplying force by base damage upgrades. I think that it needs to really reach its potential that can fight against fully developed endgame debuff boards. It needs an outrageous number of upgrades is kind of the conclusion.
Sure. I think often...
But the actual cap, I do think, is high enough to fight these strategies.
Oh, for sure. I think it's very hard to get to the point that you're, you know, defeating people on turn 3, and then it's also a little bit hard to weave in defensive cards outside of something like Ghost Howling, Soul Cleaving. I mean, Soul Cleaving does provide you with the attack down, which does help, but I think it can be a little bit tough to actually benefit from this.
Oh, I don't know. Crane footwork and vast universe healing isn't enough defense cards for you?
I like to have bigger goals. I wonder if this roast red is just here as like deal 6 damage to Momo. I guess the goal was probably to hit the Majestic Chi, right? So that the Mighty Claws fizzles.
Yes, exactly.
Meanwhile, Momo's
But
Ghost
they would have had to play it earlier.
Slightly speed this one up, I think.
We still haven't found a finishing touch.
No. Does Momo's Ghost win this one? It's looking pretty good, actually, for Momo's Ghost.
Oh yeah, definitely. An incomplete Exodia stun is fair enough by debuff with.
These
There's
4
a
internal
big
injuries
difference.
are ticking along. Alright, there we go. Still alive,
It's
though.
a very, very big difference between giving them 1 turn per cycle of your deck and 2 or 3.
Indeed.
No matter how good the cards look, that is just a huge gulf to get across.
CJ lost that round, so CJ is now on the brink. Obviously, Jiang Ximing here is as well. We found the finishing touch, so that does give you Exodia. You are staring down this, though, which is...
Does it give him Exodia? Is he not missing a second continuous card?
I guess that's true. We don't have a second continuous card here, so that is not full Exodia.
Literally any continuous card good enough. Probably the ideal one, Repel, Sita Dharma, or second finishing touch.
I think here would be second finishing touch, but I don't know. This looks pretty dire. This is just so much damage, and it just keeps going forever. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I mean, he's fighting against the person that's been ordained to win the lobby since round 10 or 11.
The Xian difference. CJ fighting Tiger, who is running... Tiger's got the Tiger board. I think that might be it for CJ. I don't think this board's got the damage. And we're not running any anti-chase by the looks of things.
Yeah, the Tiger board has so many counters, but you kind of have to get there in order to play them, you know? Whereas Tiger can't... it's challenging for him to miss on the Tiger board.
That said...
So he really, like, chin checks and gatekeeps your build that way.
It was close. We survived the tripod, which is usually enough, but not this time. Maybe wins this one. It looks like this side has done a good bit of work here.
It has delayed spiritual divination until second cycle.
Unfortunately...
It's a big deal.
Unfortunately, it is still there. It still does get
Spiritual
played.
divination is the hardest scaling thing in the game, so if you have a really slow stun lock kill, you can still be in trouble. It's one of, I think, only 2 things in the game where you can run a build that scales its damage faster than exponentially. It is a factorial scaling if you really play for the highest possible damage scaling.
I did not know. I think at one point I was in a discussion about how much that scales, but you're telling me that it's the highest scaling thing in the game. I absolutely believe you. Did 4 people die that round? Oh yeah, we lost half the lobby there.
Yeah, they have the option to scale their damage more rapidly than over the long run than steep scale their defense. Which is horrifying when you think about it. We've all probably fought against a steep that gave the opponent 500 block.
Indeed, indeed. Alright, so Momo versus Tiger. Tiger's board's slightly improved. Momo's board's still just doing the same thing. Trying to rely on a finishing touch exercise Mario to survive this amount of damage, which, from what we saw last round, is potentially doable. And here just gets to kind of hang out.
Yeah, they could go take their bathroom break at this point.
Yeah, they should be fine.
they can't get sided anymore, and so they don't really have to worry about changing that board around. They will just kill people.
Well, speaking of just killing people, that is Momo's cheat death pact.
Level 1 exercise marrow did not get picked.
No. This is what...
Now they're both just desperately hoping not to draw Xian as their next opponent.
Well, I have
Please, can I fight the ghost of Momo instead?
I have bad news for our other two competitors. They are both fighting Xian. So this might be...
Yeah, so second place will be, if I'm not mistaken, awarded to our Tiger player just on the basis of higher ending destiny.
I believe that the points will be divided with the extra bonus point removed. Yeah, so it's just a tie.
So they'll get a tie for second.
Yes. Okay. So that extra half point for second is just going to disappear into the either.
And makes taking first that much more rewarding when it was already quite rewarding.
Absolutely. So, and if you're ever going to draw spiritual divination, I guess this is the time.
Yeah, people often deliberate on the fate branch select screen if they want to pick these esoteric branches, just because you can whiff and get nothing if you don't draw the card. But when there's that much incentive to get first as opposed to second or third, it does skew the math more than it would in a normal lobby.
For sure. And I think as well it does depend a little bit on the character. I mean, I don't know... I don't think I can see the options.
Oh my! I just noticed Xian. It's gonna win this with an active yard card.
Ooh, Momo actually pulls out of win there. Momo manages to survive, so assuming that Xian wins this one, which this is 5 million damage, Momo actually picks up the second place.
They did manage to heal just barely through the burst.
I think this, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it just barely managed to tank that, which I'm impressed by. I wouldn't have thought that was there.
They did it with Crane Footworks and Vast Universe.
They built this with their own 2 hands. All right, here we go. Here is the tech, where now we're going to entangle Xian, and we're going to deal 72 destiny. That way, we don't have to play the mind game of defeating Xian from multiple fights in a row. So, Soul Cleaving does a lot of damage. I don't know if it does 72 destiny damage. Maybe next patch cycle.
I think not. If they can win with this strategy, it is good that it demonstrates some kind of mix-up. You know, you really need to establish what the mix-up is, so they feel like they're guessing about something.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you need to win. What is this, like 4 fights? It might not be 3. It's probably.
I think it's probably 3. By round 18, the destiny damage is pretty high.
What is this slot 1 soul cleaving?
This is very confusing to me.
The slot 1 soul cleaving is just attack for 8.
I think the display must have freaked out. No way.
Okay, glad to hear the display glitched out.
That's a more sane outcome. Okay. Well, sometimes you hit the nuts, but Momo managing to snag a second there, that was very, very impressive.
It was, yes.
So